There to Laurie Schwab with the New York Cosmos.
Johnson. Still Johnson. Jones, this looks dangerous for Brisbane Lions. Jones, a good cross. Johnson. Arnold's forward, so's Manus Lamond, still Robbie Slater. Twisting and turning, getting that one across. Lamond! Manus Lamond!
Play on, says the referee. Hayes is onside again. Shot! It's in the net! What a great goal by Graham Hayes!
No call! Score! Salamini for Cole. Cole on the run. Shoots. 2-0.
Lazanovsky with the free kick. Launches a rocket! Trimboli. What vision!
Blasts.
Yes! That's it!
Vujovic.
Beautiful goal! Here's Bozanic. They haven't! They might have won it!
Teammate from Adelaide United and another local product, Charlie Ankus. How do you feel, Charlie?
A bit nervous, but I think I'll get used to it. Just get used to it and really put in 100%.
Welcome to another episode, chatting with another legend, South Australian legend. I seem to be getting quite a few South Australian legends on the show. Socceroo, former Adelaide City and Adelaide United defender, Angelo Costanzo. Welcome.
Hey, George, how are you?
Well, I'm very well, mate, and thank you so much for joining me for another chat. A full career, you've packed a lot in.
Yeah.
Where do we find you currently in terms of soccer?
I'm at the moment just coaching an NPL team here in SA, Croydon Kings. So, yeah, really enjoying that at the moment. So I'm doing well at the moment as well, which is good. So, yeah, good young team and, yeah, sitting second on the ladder with 4 games to go.
Okay. So how long have you been coaching there? A couple of years?
Yeah, this is my 3rd year at the club. I did 1 year as an assistant and then been head coach for the last 2 years.
No, okay, cool. And you did a little bit of coaching at Adelaide United with the youth team, is that right?
Yeah, previous to that, I spent 5 years with the Adelaide United youth team as I was assistant coach there to Mike Valkanis. So, yeah, enjoyed my time there, worked with some great young SA boys and, yeah, it's good to see them continue their careers overseas and in the A-League as well.
Yeah. Adelaide seems to be the current hotline of factory that's producing some really young players. Tell us a couple of the players that you've worked with that are doing well overseas at the moment.
Yeah, you're right there with the factory at the moment. We had probably 10 or 15 years ago, we had a great batch come through and then, the Socceroos were all SA, the defence at one stage was all from SA. So, yeah, we had a good batch back then. There's a lot of good young players coming through now. The most notable one's probably Abel Mobile over in Denmark, just qualified for Champions League. So, yeah, he was one that came through. He was one of the first ones. So, yeah, he's a fantastic kid and great player and still keep in contact with him. And then we just had a number of, just looking at Adelaide United, Jordan Elsey came through there. Riley McGree was another one that came through. Rowan Tongik, Bruce Kamau. They're all in the A-League. There's just 5 or 6 just there. Yeah, but yeah, we had a good batch come through at that stage.
No, okay, yeah. It just seems to be, especially through, obviously, Adelaide United seem to be getting a good crop of youngsters constantly coming through, which is terrific because obviously the development and the comparison to previous generations about young players coming through is obviously a hot topic at the moment. But in terms of Adelaide/South Australia, there doesn't seem to be a shortage, which is sensational. We're talking about Amar keeping in touch with you. Is it just on a social basis, or is it kind of more a mentor thing still going forward? What's that sort of relationship like?
Oh, just mainly as friendship and mentor. Yeah, we formed a real good bond here when he was coach, and he's really respectful young human being. He lost his father when he was overseas, like a lot of those young African kids, and we just sort of fill a void for a bit there as father figures, me and Mickey, and then just continuation. Other coaches do the same thing afterwards because he's just a great kid, just willing to work, wants to work every day. And I can still remember when he first signed his A-League contract, he just even said to us, "You got to keep still being hard on me. Don't stop. I want to make it." And so he's a terrific young kid, and shows why he did make it where he has, and will go further as well.
Yeah, good. And he's certainly in the shop window now of the Champions League, and he's got Liverpool and Ajax in his group. And even Atalanta. So he's going to be like really in the shop window if he gets to play some games.
Yeah, certainly will. And and just even with the team I'm coaching now, Croydon Kings, we're not a big club, a smallish club of Polish heritage. John Kosmina was actually coached there.
Is that the old Polonia? For those
the old Polonia and stuff. So the Polish, probably not a lot of Polish there at the moment. It's a multicultural club now. We've got a lot of African kids, every Italians, Greeks, whatever, it's there. So it's that Polish. I don't know if there's a big population of Polish people in Adelaide anymore, but it doesn't seem to be a lot of Polish people there. But they're still involved. They're still, our club song when we win is "Hey Polonia," so along those lines still. So and we're a young club and we want to develop young kids, and we've sent Alessandro Azzurri is Adelaide United. He's come from us straight into there. Yared Abutu, who's played a couple of games, come from us just 2 years ago. Mohamed Toure's come from Croydon. Hussein Bility, another young African boy who's at Mitchell in the same club as Abel Mabil, went straight from us to there. So we're a club that likes to develop. And then just in the last 2 years, Kieran Stokes got an A-League contract with Melbourne City, direct from our NPL team. He's 16 years old, won the Rising Star last year as a defender. And so there's a lot of quality coming through. And even this year, we've got some. Got my son who's in the team, who's leading goal scorer in the NPL at the moment. He's only 18 and probably will get an A-League contract soon as well. And we've got a 16-year-old starting every week for me. So we're a club that wants to play young kids. But at the end of the day, they've got to be good enough too. You're not going to just chuck them in there. They have to be good enough as well.
Yeah, clearly. It's good that you mentioned your son. It's Dom, right?
Yeah.
So he's obviously went also through the Adelaide United youth system as well.
Yeah, he went through the state system as well. Got through, went to Adelaide United. I left the state system, went to a local club, Croydon, then went to Adelaide United 2 years ago, and then got cut. Come back to Croydon where I was coaching, and all credit to him. He's done well, worked hard, realised what he wants to do, and started working. So it's not what he wanted to do, work, but I made him work. So at the moment he's leading at 18, leading the goal scorer in the NPL. So and then there's just clubs interested at the moment. So he'll just have to wait and see, and we'll wait and see what happens out of that. Yeah,
cool. Is he working with you in the family business?
Yeah, I've got a construction business. So that was one thing I said to him. You're not staying home. You either go to uni or. So he chose work and didn't really like it. And he realised that football was the way to go and just started working extremely hard on his game.
Good. Yeah, well, show him the alternatives to football, and
exactly.
All of a sudden, the football becomes a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's probably something the younger generation should do, and just to show them, listen, this is what would you rather do? Work, 8 till 5, or be a footballer where you train at 10. Have a break and go to the gym. There's nothing beats it. I got to experience it, and nothing compares to it. You know what I mean? So it's something you enjoy doing, and you get paid to do it as well. Yeah. But you have to work. There's no substitute for hard work.
No. Well, I've probably done somewhere near 100 odd type of these interviews, from every age to both genders, to not just players, to media people, TV people, radio people, administrators, and one constant in all of the interviews is hard work.
Yeah, that's something you can't do without, and you always sometimes you have the ability, but you're not willing to work hard. And even as coaches, sometimes you'll just go for someone that wants to work and does all the team things and everything and hasn't got quite enough ability, but you're still picking because they just want to work and want to chase and want to do everything that you want them to do.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, let's do what I normally do, and let's go back. And normally I go with my standard question is, do you recall your very first soccer football memory?
Yeah, just probably when I was just playing at Salisbury City, that was where my first club, and just playing in the sand pretty much, not much kicking any balls. Like most young kids at that age, you just looking at playing with the fairies a little bit. So that was probably the if I have to look back, there's one memory I do remember. But then just with playing with the family, that was always part of the furniture, the football. So they're the main early parts that we do remember. Yeah.
So have you got two brothers? Is that right?
I've got three. I've got my brother Joe Forge, and then a brother Bruno who passed away, probably 4 or 5 years ago. Just heart complications and stuff. So but always grew up. They always played soccer, football. Everyone. So it was in the family. My dad was involved in a football club. Coming as an Italian immigrant, that was one way everyone just got together. So he was involved in Eastern Districts Azzurri, which is the Adelaide Blue Eagles now. So he was one of the people involved there, and it's a life member there. So we always grew up around football.
Okay. So Salisbury was your junior club?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Salisbury City.
So you went through the ranks there.
Yeah.
Were you, as a junior, were you a standout junior? Were you in representative teams? Did you?
Not really so many representative teams, but I can remember, I used to play up front and score a few goals. So, slowly over the years, I just kept moving back and back. So, into defence. So, I'm at Salisbury City, and then my brother Bruno, in young age. So, I was there 2 or 3 years, and then, funny enough, we played in the cup final one day, and we ended up losing. My dad saw an ex-player of Azzurri and started chatting to him, and he was coaching a team, Salisbury East, and he said to my dad that he wanted me to go over with him. And that was probably the turning point for me. Once I went over there with him, I ended up staying with, his name was Chris Manilow, coach, so I ended up staying with him 1 year at Salisbury East, and then went to Azzurri for a couple of years, Adelaide Blue Eagles, and then he got a senior coaching job at Salisbury United, and we've all three brothers at that stage ended up following him there, and spent 2 seasons at Salisbury United, and that's pretty much when I started, getting into the senior football.
Yeah. So obviously with Chris, you've listed him as one of your major influences.
Yeah.
So what was it about being a junior player? Then obviously you followed him into senior football. Yeah. What was it about the way he went about it that worked with you? How did you click?
I was a technical player, and Chris, so was he. He's a Serbian. He played. He was a Serbian kid, or he was a father at that stage. So, sort of usually growing up, you had more of the English coaches back when we were starting, and it wasn't so much playing football, direct football and long balls and stuff. Where Chris wanted, he taught us all the technical side of it. Keeping the ball, dribbling, all those type of stuff. So. And it's something, I already enjoyed with the ball. I always wanted to play with the ball, so that helped my game immensely. And, pretty much took off after then. Yeah,
okay. So in your early days at senior level, I think, did you win Player of the Year in the old state league?
Yeah, that's it. It was the Serge Melder medal, pretty much. That was my second year at Salisbury. And then, I was 18, turning, or 17, 18, around that age. And, won best player in the NPL, and then from then went to Adelaide City.
Yeah, what position were you playing that season predominantly?
I started off as in the midfield, and then I played the old sweeper role. So so I played
free man at the back.
Yeah, free man at the back, and just added myself into the midfield and stuff like that. So so a bit of a coming from attack to defence. That was the start pretty much of my defending. Become a defender at that age.
Yeah, okay. So for an Italian boy, when Adelaide City come calling, it's pretty much not even a discussion after that, isn't it? You just go.
Oh, well, it's a funny one because West Adelaide also come in, winning the medal and stuff. West Adelaide. Raul Blanco was there, and
Okay,
he was around that stage, and being in the under-20 Aussie setup as well. So, we had the conversation with Raul and all Scheinflag and all those guys, and they said, go to West Adelaide. If you go to West Adelaide, you work on the Raul, you'll get into you'll be in our under-20s pretty much. Come back, met with West Adelaide. They were very good. Money was good, all that type of thing. Then speaking with my dad, we went to Adelaide City pretty much. I was keen to go to West Adelaide, but went to Adelaide City, being an Italian club and knowing the people there. And I always went for Adelaide City. That was my club. But and then we ended up choosing to go there. And pretty much the first season under Zoran Manic, pretty much just trained with the seniors and played in the team in the NPL. They had a team in the second division back then. So, and didn't end up making the under-20s after that. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was
So when you went there, it was a sensational partnership that was probably in the middle of their peak, Ivanovic and Tobin, right? So probably hard for a sweeper / centre half to break into that because they were pretty much the Socceroo pair. But it brought you in, so they're treating you as a trainee, an understudy, the future, the plan going forward. For you working with those guys, firstly, not as players, just as blokes, what were they like?
Oh, yeah, they were good. Yeah, no, they were, didn't talk, that Milan and Alex weren't real talkers. They weren't out there, but they showed the way they played. They were leaders in the way they played, and they helped the younger ones as much as I can. I ended up playing as a right back next to Alex and Milan in my early stages, and just like a sponge, and just wanted to learn from them. And then eventually, once Alex moved on and Milan retired, went into that central role after that.
Yeah, okay. So it's a natural progression, but obviously training with them and playing alongside them, you would have learnt so much.
I mean, for sure.
Perfect school for you to be at to learn your craft.
Very much. Milan was technically one of the best players to come to Australia and play for Australia. It was the way he used to play that sweeper role was unbelievable, and just to learn off him and watch him do what he does was just, there's no better way to learn the game.
Yeah. Now Zoran, everyone's got plenty of Zoran stories.
Yeah.
But the one constant that I've come across the people that I've spoken to is it was Zoran's way or the highway.
Yeah, it certainly was. Yeah, he was tough. He knew, it was probably before his time because he wanted a certain way to play, and you had to play that certain way and not deviate off it. So tactically, he was fantastic. He knew every player, every other team, their strengths, their weaknesses. So he was just did his research, watched a lot of games, and could he coach in the modern day? Probably not the way he was. He was just, it was very hard, but very successful, and probably unlucky not even to get him to coach Socceroos at a certain stage, because he was the most successful coach at that time.
By all accounts, and obviously there'll be no documentation to prove it, but it just didn't fit the mould for this Socceroo job, which is probably unfortunate, because it would have been good to see someone with his ability see how it actually worked. But,
well, the rumour is some certain individual said that he can't speak English, that's why he's not getting jobs. So.
Yeah, which is pretty sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But, mate, you don't have to speak English to know the game, do you? You can see coaches, nowadays, coaches don't even speak the language that they're in, and they coach. Look at Bielsa at Leeds. I don't know if he can speak much English, or he's just playing on it, so he doesn't do interviews.
He has a translator.
Maybe he does that just to play on it, so he doesn't have to do any interviews and stuff like that, but he's pretty successful.
Yeah, he gets his message across. Yeah. You're right. Also about Zoran, the other constant was, for all his intensity and his my way or the highway and direct approach, but by all accounts, if required, when he needed to put his arm around someone or actually take care of people, he was spot on with that as well. Is that your recollection?
Yeah, he was all right. I think the main one was Johnny Perrin, because Johnny Perrin as an assistant. So Johnny was probably the good cop, and Zoran was probably the bad cop. You know, the younger ones used to speak to Johnny probably a bit more than Zoran. Zoran was very focused on his 11, 12 players. And then the rest would probably do a little bit with Johnny and stuff. So he was very focused on just his squad of players, that 11, 12 that were playing, and the rest just had to wait and once they got in and do the job.
Yeah. All right. So what was your favourite recollection or favourite memories of actually at your time in the old NSL at Adelaide City? Because you were there for a good 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, mainly just playing the derbies against West Adelaide. They were great times, and the crowd was unbelievable, and just having that rivalry here in Adelaide. I think it's sort of the Melbourne Victory, Adelaide United rivalry, which comes close to it, but nothing like Italian and Greek rivalry. It's just, those games were fantastic, and we won a lot of them in my era too. So it was good to also win them.
Yeah, very good, very good. So you're one of the rare guys who I speak to that actually not only played NSL, but then transitioned and still had a pretty successful, longish career still in the A-League. So obviously at the end of the NSL era, there was that sort of gap period between the introduction of the A-League, where footballers had to decide what they were going to do in terms of stay in Australia, go overseas, play NPL somewhere. Yeah, because it was a decent break, right? You had to keep active, I guess.
Yeah, it was. I was at Marconi at that stage and had another year. I think it was 1 or 2 years left on my contract. But then, the league pretty much stopped and went into, I think it was about 18 months or over no football. So we decided to come back to Adelaide, and a lot of players at that stage were going to Malaysia and just to kick over and stuff. So we decided to come back. I just played local league in the NPL here. I'd signed for Adelaide United already, so signed with them and just waited till the A League pretty much started again. So it was a difficult time. A lot of players. I was full time at Marconi at that stage, so had to come back, go back to working to a degree and playing locally, and then just waiting for the A League to start again. We were lucky. We had a good owner in Gordon Pickard, and we started a lot earlier, and he started paying us a lot earlier than a lot of other clubs started.
Okay. Just going back, what made you move from Adelaide City to Marconi?
I was there 6 years and, probably just looking for a change, and Marconi came in, made a good offer, and they were always a fairly big club. So, I just decided to go there and, enjoyed my time there. Great 4 years at the club, and good club, and, good people, met a lot of great people. They were a big club too back then. So, it was a bit of a no-brainer to go and just experience other side of football.
So were you full-time before that at Adelaide City, or were you sort of balancing it?
No, I was balancing it. Adelaide City, I was, I did a carpentry apprenticeship. My dad always said no, didn't like it, but I had to do it. He made me do it, which I look back now and think it was probably the best thing I did. As soon as I finished my apprenticeship, I pretty much stopped working and pretty much sort of concentrate on football a bit more. And then Marconi came along, and I was just full time over there. We used to train in the mornings, afternoons. So at Adelaide City, it was always afternoons. So I'd work all day, go to training, come back, work all day. So it was difficult, but we managed. And you still remember when we used to travel. Most games were on a Sunday. We used to fly the morning, play the game, stay the night, leave 6 o'clock, come back, and everyone would go to work again. That was AFL sort of doing those type of things now. We were doing that back in the day, which is good. You're not losing street. Now a lot of teams travel the day before and they spend the whole day, and it's a long day. So if you're playing night games, especially Sydney and Melbourne, you could probably fly in the morning and then
Yeah.
come back the
Yeah,
next,
so
next
it's all
day.
about tweaking it to suit the group
Yeah.
and what is
Yeah.
best, and obviously taking into account recovery and other commitments like work.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Even family, you're away from your family for 3 days, and when you can do it in a day, pretty much.
yeah, of course. No, streamline it and make it a lot easier for everyone and more enjoyable for the players, or less arduous, I guess.
Yeah, well, because you're sleeping in your bed, and it's a lot easier. It's always
For
the best.
sure. So while you're at Marconi, that's when you started to get some senior caps for the Socceroos. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was under Eddie Krenchevich there the first year too, and I was playing pretty good back then. Some good
What was
football.
Eddie like as a coach?
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he was. I didn't mind Eddie. He wanted to play football. He was a great player as well, and just wanted to play like that. And yeah, he was good. And then I made my Socceroos debut in Colombia against Colombia. So yeah, that was something I dreamt of as a kid. Always wanted to play for for the Socceroos, and managed to do that.
No, so Frankie Farina was
Farina, yeah, he was the
okay,
coach.
manager.
Yeah.
What's your recollection of getting told, getting selected, and your actual feelings? I know you say it's a boyhood dream, but
Yeah. I think I was playing golf at the time, and Eddie said, "Oh, they're gonna call you." And back then it was a little bit different. They didn't announce a squad, and then you're thinking, yeah, it's gonna call, but you never expect that call, do you? So, and then once finally called, it was relief, because I thought I was doing well and I deserved to be in there, but until you get in there, you never really know. So it was a fantastic experience. Me and the family was happy, so I couldn't ask for anything more.
and your recollection of the actual game itself.
Yeah, we were losing 3-0, and then we ended up coming back 3-2. I come on probably about 15, 20 minutes to go. So Archie Thompson debuted that game as well, so we were there together. So yeah, it's a bit of a blur still, being in Colombia. We weren't allowed to get out the hotel pretty much. So it was, it wasn't a normal camp. Went to train. The altitude was a bit different. You were using these balls that were like plastic balls. I never used them. Just
station balls.
Yeah, pretty much, because the altitude was higher and stuff. So, but it was dream come true.
No, well done. And okay, funny you mention Archie, because your paths will cross a few more times in the next few years. You're probably going to get sick of him by the end of it. But
we played at Marconi together too for about pretty much half a season or a season. He came over there when I was there. So and then we battled out in the A-League for a bit.
Yeah, you certainly did. All right, so that transition you were talking about from NSL to the A-League.
Yeah.
Seems like Adelaide were pretty switched on with getting the crew in early.
Yeah.
And looking after players, and that was obviously a good thing. So in the early days, you guys started off pretty well and were pretty regular, obviously with a couple of grand final appearances. So you had a pretty much a strong squad. I guess the foundations would have come from that. What's your recollections of just this A-League thing that, obviously was going to replace the old NSL? What are your recollections of the time? Did you think it was going to work?
Yeah, it's one of those. It's difficult to know if it was going to work, because coming from the old NSL had all the every club had an ethnic back. Even though they changed it, they probably lost their way a little bit. Once they changed the name, all the Sydney Croatia, a lot of the Croatians didn't support them afterwards. So it worked against them a little bit, and probably the wrong thing to do. Looking back now, they could have left all the names as they were, and I think the clubs probably could have been stronger and not allow it. So now I think they're letting them change their names back to what it was. So but it became sort of like a state of origin, didn't it? Back then, every city had one team pretty much, and there was 8 teams back then, so it was new. But then there was a lot of money being spent in advertising and crowds. The first few years, the crowds, and there was a lot of publicity. Everyone knew it was on, and especially here in Adelaide, we were getting 12, 13, 14,000 every game. So it did work well here. we probably we had the two teams back then. Adelaide City was probably had a stronger backing, but then some people didn't come as well because one was Italian, one was Greek, and they didn't support that. Whereas Adelaide United became like the state team pretty much, and everyone supported, which was good.
Yeah. Okay. So you noticed that difference, that it became the neutral for anyone.
Yeah.
Not just necessarily Greeks and Italians, but all South Australia.
All South Australia pretty much got behind us, and we were fairly successful back then. We had a lot of, I think the majority of the team was from South Australia, and we were fairly successful. We won the first premiership. We finished top the first year, but we couldn't get that grand final.
Yeah, cool. Just obviously, Adelaide City under Zoran Madic were at the time the benchmark for Australian football. Successful.
Yeah.
Lots of Socceroos, lots of players. I would imagine, even though you guys were semi-professional, part-time, three-quarters, somewhere in that balancing act, you would have been reasonably well paid, right? It would, because it was a strong club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think my first year I was getting $50 a week. I don't know, being a young kid. I think, I can't speak for everyone, but they would have been getting okay money. With working, it would have worked out pretty good for some of them.
When you went to Marconi, again, there you would have been compensated pretty well, right?
Marconi was very good pay.
Okay, so in comparison to Adelaide United and A-League, how much better was Adelaide United compared to Marconi in terms of, I don't want figures, but obviously was it a lot better money?
No, not at all. No, back then really. There was a salary cap and stuff like that. I remember I got offered. I could have stayed at Sydney FC back then. I would have probably got the same as what I got at Marconi, probably a bit more maybe. Whereas Adelaide, I took a bit of a hit to come back to Adelaide. I had two. I just had my son was born. He was 2 or 3 years old, so we were away from home. We just decided to come back to be with the family as well. So we're away for 4 or 5 years, and just thought it was time to come back to Adelaide at that stage. And financially it was still okay, but it wasn't what we were getting in Sydney, that's for sure.
Okay, so Marconi was really a really good player then.
Yeah, they were good. Yeah, for me especially.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. It's good to know that comparison, because everyone just assumes, you go to the A-League and the money's greater.
No, well, early on there was the salary cap come in, and it was something new, and I think clubs didn't go out and spend what they didn't have pretty much. They waited, and we were probably the pioneers. We took the hit early, and now, well, not this year, but, the salary cap got pretty high, and you saw a few average players getting very good money lately. So they'll probably get back down to what they should be earning now with the salary cap cut.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. All right, cool. So let's go to, was Cozzy the first manager there? He was.
Yeah, Cozzy was coach, yeah.
Okay. How was he as a manager, coach? Obviously, you grew up in South Australia. He's a South Australian legend.
Yeah.
So where does it all fit? How did you go as player-coach relationship?
Yeah, I didn't mind because he was pretty good. He was old school coach to a degree. Tactically, not a lot of tactics, but just hard, physical, sort of the way he liked to play as well. He was more of a manager than a coach. He managed the players, and we had an older team back then. We had Carl, Ross, Valkanis, myself, Travis Dodd. So we were an experienced team, and we, did a lot of on the field. We just make changes as well when we saw fit as well. So he just managed us and as best as could. And those first few years, we were pretty successful without winning the elusive grand final.
Yeah, you were pretty consistent, especially through the league campaigns and whatever. I mean, but for sliding door moments, which we will discuss, but you could have had 2 flags or 2 premierships quite easily. Carl Viet, you just mentioned, came back obviously for the start of the A-League. Did you manage to play with him at Adelaide City before he left?
No, he already left.
He'd already left.
Yeah, he had already gone overseas. I think the year he left or the year before. that's when I went there afterwards. So yeah.
No, okay. Is there a noticeable difference to someone like that who comes back from playing overseas for an extended time? Whether it's ability, whether it's professionalism, do they add to the team?
Oh yeah, he was a good player. Yeah, he was a great player, especially even for the Socceroos, for Adelaide City, and even Adelaide United. You know, he scored some crucial goals, and the one thing with him, he could play a lot of positions, Carl, as well. So he's very versatile and playing 3 or 4 positions for us. So if we needed someone to fill a hole, he would do that with his experience.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, it's good to get that the view from someone who's actually played alongside them.
And even Aurelio Vitmar was there the first. He played with Adelaide United in the cell, and then once the A-League started, and then that's when he retired and went in as an assistant with Cozzy as well.
Yeah. Okay. Was he the good cop?
Yeah, Vidi was different. Yeah, as an assistant, and then. Yeah. He became the hard cop when he was the coach. But yeah, no, they had a good partnership back then as well.
Okay. We'll get to the pissant comment too.
Yeah.
We can't have a conversation if we don't bring it up, right?
Yeah, that was a bit different.
Yeah, okay. Cool. All right. Most importantly, and one of the foundations of the success that you were having, in the league was your relationship at the back with Mike Valkanis.
Yeah.
Strong partnership, but on and off the field, right? So, but tell us about firstly playing alongside him and the understanding that you guys had.
Yeah, we just pretty much clicked straight away. As defenders, we never played with each other before then. So, just clicked. We understood how we wanted to play in football, and I think the first couple of years we had the most offsides. Just that understanding we had with each other, just give the nod of the head, and we'd just step up. So, understanding he was, he'd played in Greece for a number of years and very professional as well in the way he went about it.
Yeah. So would you call him, because I would imagine you consider yourself a technical centre half, obviously having played sweeper and big row thing. So was Mickey similar to you, or were you totally yin and yang?
Yin and yang. I think he was the brute.
Yeah.
I just told him, you just win and give it to me and let me play. So he knew his game. He knew he wasn't, and that's the good thing about him, and that's why he played professionally, played for the Socceroos. He understood his game, and I think nowadays some players don't understand. They want to do things that they can't do, whereas he knew you win the ball, just played, and that's his job. So, and that's why he had a good career. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a good career and gone on to be a good coach at the moment as well, working with the Greek national team.
Yeah. So you guys actually, like I said, the relationship continued because you actually worked and coached together as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a good understanding and good friends. I spoke to him yesterday as well, So we still keep in contact. Even though we're in different parts of the world, we still keep in contact. Families were close, the kids were close. So, we've got a very good relationship off the field as well.
And he's doing very well for himself at the moment.
Yeah, very well. So pretty happy with the way they're going, especially with the Greek national team. They've transformed a little bit. They've copped a lot of flack over there, but they're getting the results. So people can't really talk when you get the results.
No, the results have been sensational.
Yeah.
Especially compared to how the shape it was when they took over. They really took over a basket case. So you were on a hiding to nothing, but they seem to have turned around the attitude and the mentality of the whole situation.
Yeah, speaking to them, I think they had not issues. They're just the older players come in and sort of tried to dictate what they want. I think they've been getting away for that for years. So they've pretty much gone with the younger team that wants to listen, wants to work, and at the moment it's working. But yeah, as you know, over there in Greece, can be volatile. And things could change in a split second. But at the moment, they're doing very well, and they're winning games, and they're starting to change the mentality and the way people are thinking over there. There's a big Olympiacos-driven media and all that type of stuff that likes to just throw stones. But, you do well. I think that the majority of the Greeks have changed their attitude.
Yeah, it's certainly a different animal over there, football, compared to what we're used to here.
Yeah,
it is what it is, but it's completely different to us culturally, the media, the politics. It's just next level, maybe next 2 levels. But I think Mickey will come back better for the experience. And will be a great candidate for an A-League club.
Yeah, I think eventually. I think Mickey likes the day-to-day coaching side of things, so eventually that's something he'll want to get back into. But at the moment, you're in a good coaching, assistant coach for a national team.
Yeah.
You can't going into a World Cup. Hopefully, in the next year or two, there's nothing better you want to do, and so and then you can pretty much go anywhere you want after that. If you got that on your CV, so that makes it easier to get a coaching position.
For sure. And with that, and keeping in mind, obviously, that you're coaching at Croydon Kings, so potentially the Valkanis-Costanzo relationship has probably got years and years of work ahead of you. You just never know, right?
Yeah, never know what happens in football. But, at the moment, I'm pretty comfortable here, in Adelaide, and working with the NPL team, with the business and side of things. So, but football's a strange thing. You never know where it can take you eventually.
No, never say never. All right. 2 or 3 sensational seasons on the trot, on the back of the 2 centre halves, the 2 hard men of the game. And like you said, you had a good spine with Ross in the midfield and whatever. Yeah. Now, we'll go to the sliding doors moment. I had this conversation with Ross when I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what the name of the semi-final was, but 1-1 at what was Etihad Stadium. The reason I remember it clearly is I'm not a Victory fan, but I'm a Malvernian, right? So I was at the game and I had my young son, and I was parked in the car park underneath the ground. One of the things you know about big crowds is if you don't get out quick, you're stuck in there. So I've got my son, and another hour in the car with him chirping away was going to be hell. So with a few minutes to go, I picked him up.
Let's go.
Decided to head towards the lifts to get down, and just as we're
we should have followed you as well.
Just as we're watching, I heard a roar, turned around to see a ball flying, and I say looping, I guess, not flying, into the corner of the goal, and then obviously watched the replay. Mr. Robinson, who he later come and play for Adelaide as well.
Probably, I can't remember. But hasn't been seen since, I don't think.
In terms of main competition and doing anything, has definitely not been seen since. So at 1-1, Adelaide
get the grand final.
Home grand final. That goal changes it, and you guys have to go back and play a prelim. And fly back to Melbourne. I think that's where the grand final was lost.
Looking back, I think we were shot. We were convinced we were going to get the grand final. We were a couple minute or so away, and then that happens. And then after that, we had a chance as well. I think that was Travis Dodd had a good chance to score, and we were deflated. We picked ourselves up the week after to beat Newcastle, and even that went to penalty shootout and stuff. So, and then Cozzy gave the refs a little bit of a spray on the way through, and the rest is history. We lost Matty Kemp as well. The back four was pretty solid along the way. So we didn't concede a lot of goals. Matty Kemp was on the left, Mickey, me, and Richie. So that was settled. Then he got his second yellow in that Newcastle game, so he missed the grand final. And then Greg Owens, which was a surprise to everyone, because he went with Greg, and a lot of those goals come down that side afterwards in the final. And then looking back, Greg wasn't in a good space as well. He already spoken to the club about wanting to go back to Newcastle, and no one really knew about it. So it's something, if we knew, and I bet if Cozzy knew that he wasn't in a good space, probably wouldn't have played him either that day. So, but that's all history. And playing the grand final that week after, 2-0 down, 20 minutes gone, Ross gets sent off, Cozzy's in the grandstand, makes it very difficult, you know, as a group to come back from that. And top 6 in the end, which wasn't great, but yeah, that's football, as they say.
Yeah. I spoke to Ross and we discussed certain aspects of before, the after, and the during, and obviously he came back. His initial thought was that the foul wasn't so bad, right? That was his initial thought. And then when he looked at the replay, he changed his mind because he didn't see replay till after the game.
Yeah.
And then he basically apologised to the group and pretty much had to apologise to the whole of the state.
Yeah.
Which took a lot of balls to actually take that responsibility. Yeah. Once you realise you've made a mistake. But there was also talk about before the grand final about who was staying, who was going. Decisions had been made about perhaps Cozzy, perhaps Ross. In this case, you're also mentioning Greg. It seems for me, from the outside looking in, that going into a major tournament / final series, that before all this, that decisions were being made on people's livelihoods. Wouldn't that have been best left till after? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know the ins and outs to it all, but yeah, but there's always talk, isn't there? You know, especially now where you can sign for a team 6 months left in your contract. The landscape's changed a lot of those things now. So you might be playing with someone, and you know he's not going to be there next year. So it's, but yeah, there was a bit of uncertainty with all that scenario happening and all that stuff. And in the end, after that game, Cozzy pretty much walked, or I don't know the finer details of what happened there.
Yeah, continued through the door that had been slightly left open for him.
Yeah, but it was a bit. We had Nick Bianco as the owner then, and he was a good owner, but didn't like bad publicity and all that type of stuff. And we just copped a little bit of bad publicity around that stage, which, looking back, we
had the Muskie Kazmina.
Yeah, the rivalry. Yeah.
What's a player's view of that? Like, does it not? You don't care, or you going, what the hell's going on with my coach? What do you think of that stuff?
Oh, you want to know what's going on, but it's not. It is a little bit of a distraction, but you, being professional, and it happens all the time, you just have to, move on and get ready and just prepare yourself as best you can to play. So it was a bit of an uncertain time during that period and after, and then it sorted itself out with Vidi coming in, because the good thing about that is we had Champions League, first ever Asian Champions League, and we were in it, and that was probably a month later, so we didn't have time to dwell, which was probably a good thing. We didn't have much time to dwell, because imagine having 4 or 5 months off like there was back then, just thinking about the grand final, and it could have got worse. Whereas Vidi came in, a few changes were made, and then we pretty much got back into the games.
All right, so it's good to get back on. But with the Champions League, and as obviously new experiences, but also plenty of travel, but plenty of football. As a footballer, would you rather be playing, say, the 2 games a week and less training, or what's your balance of just what your own preference is?
Oh, you always want to play games. That was one thing we wanted to always do, and it was good. The Champions League, apart from the travel, and then we got used to the travel and really enjoyed it. We've become closer as a group, especially traveling for days. And our travel was pretty poor in a way when you think back. We would go to China, but we'd go 3-4 stops before that, just because maybe the flights were cheaper or whatever. So
economy
flights took us a bit longer than what they should have. But we enjoyed it. We embraced the Champions League. A few of us always made sure we got out and saw the cities where we went to, and really got into the culture side of thing of where we were playing, and I really enjoyed it. Asia's fantastic, and football, they were good football teams. I think that first Champions League campaign for us, we were a bit overawed. We just we expected all these, because they were spending a lot of money just to come, and we were just making up the numbers. But then eventually, we built into it, and it was a little bit late. But I remember our last game against Shandong, they were spending millions and millions. One player was getting more than our salary cap, and we ended up drawing 2-2, and we were just thinking, hey, they're not much better than us, are they? Really, it's just that they're getting paid more.
Yeah. Okay.
And then from then, it really opened up. After the first few campaigns with the Champions League, really opened up the Australian market. There was a flood of players going into Asia after that. So
yeah. Of course,
from us doing so well as well.
Yeah. No, you're certainly pioneers by being the first, but for your own selves, going out, playing, picking up bits of experience, bits of knowledge along the way to get better at what you were trying to achieve, including the travel, perhaps the preparation, all of that stuff, as well as the tactical side of playing against so many different types of teams that you would have come across.
Yeah, there was. We ended up playing against Rivaldo, who's a big Brazilian star when we were in Uzbekistan. So the money that was phenomenal. What these players were getting, a lot of Brazilian players. I remember the Champions League final to play the game. And then they had a few Brazilian players that had played for Brazil. It was phenomenal, the players that were coming and we were playing against.
Yeah. So you made that final?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your recollection?
The games time quarters. I remember was chock-a-block. They were 16.5 is the capacity, but they reckon there was nearly close to 19,000. They were selling tickets. They weren't supposed to. Probably get in trouble now, but they were selling standing tickets. All the standing area was chock-a-block, and then just to get the result was unbelievable. Yeah, those times were great times for the game, for Adelaide. And yeah, for me personally, looking back, they were probably the highlights of my career as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you didn't finish up at Adelaide United. You were probably being gently, kindly asked to, as a legend, to find maybe retirement or an alternative, and you chose to play on and go to Newcastle. What was your thought behind that?
I did. I had a knee issue, but I thought I still had, one more year to give. I made up my mind that I wanted to play another season, and I thought I could have helped the younger boys in Adelaide, and just, I would have been happy just to be in and out and helping. And Newcastle came along, and they were in the Champions League, so they were looking for a bit of experience, and ended up playing another Champions League campaign there with Newcastle Jets, and really enjoyed my time there as well. That was, it was a great time. Finished my career, met another lot of friends and people, and become very good friends with Tarek Elrich through going there. My son Dominic, who we spoke about before, found his real love for the game. He wasn't really into football, if I can say that. He wasn't. He used to play just by necessity. As soon as we went to, and I've always said to him, if you want to play, you let me know, and we'll go work on your game and stuff like that. And then that's when it really, really started for him, because we were away from family and really didn't know anyone. So he really chose, and he became, because in Newcastle you're so close, the players are always together. So that's when he really started mixing with the players and really started to enjoy his football. And from then, he's really been full on into his football.
Yeah, he got the buzz.
Yeah, from that, pretty much going to Newcastle. So, things happen for a reason. And for me, it was more, playing as well another season. But he got to find his love of the game as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you certainly got some positives. I did want to speak about, and I got left it behind, is the World Club Championships.
Yeah. That
Tell us about that experience. That would have been sensational.
Oh, that was amazing. Going over to play in that tournament. First of all, you just get looked after because it's a FIFA tournament, flying business class and staying in good hotels, and then just being in a tournament where you got the likes of Man U, Ronaldo's, and players like that. So we played the New Zealand team first, managed to get a victory, and then we ended up playing Gamba Osaka again, and just still couldn't get over the line against them. They were a strong Japanese team, and very, very well coached, and a lot of great players that they had. And that's their budgets. They're spending, I don't know, 15 million compared to us, 1.52 million.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard for Australian teams to compete in that Champions League, and that's why you admire Western Sydney for winning it, for what they did against the odds, and the more it's against better players and stuff like that. So it's fantastic what they managed to do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. That's your kind of opportunity towards the end of your career to get that rock star kind of experience.
Yeah.
In the FIFA bubble.
Yeah, that was
and enjoy
different world over there and experiencing that. It's just it was great, and I can't say anything. The players enjoyed it. We got to spend more time together, and problem was once we come back, we had a jam-packed a lot of games because we missed probably a month or 2 or 3 weeks of football.
Yeah. Okay. So Newcastle, you packed in a season, and you got the Champions League campaign, and then what made you decide to pretty much pack it in from there?
Oh, just my body probably couldn't keep up with it anymore. So I had a knee. My knee wasn't great. So after that was pretty much time to come back, and played a year in the local league here. A friend of mine was coaching a team and wasn't overly keen on doing it, but he convinced me, so I went and tried to help him. And then that was it. I pulled stumps on my career and finished up, and pretty much got into coaching after that. So I think about 6 months, a year later, went into Adelaide United youth team setup, which was great experience. Got to work with not only Mickey, but Gumball, Amor, really cool, and all those coaches as well. So good experience, and time to learn the game, different parts of the game as well that you learn from different coaches.
Yeah, for sure. Normally I go into a bit of a word association, but before we get to word association, we can't have a chat if we don't discuss the event, the occasion at South Melbourne with what happened. What's your recollection of what happened?
Oh, we'd won the game, and the ref, I think, gave a few decisions which the South Melbourne supporters didn't like, and then on the way home we sort of copped the brunt of it a little bit. Just on the bus, glass just from a rock went into my eye, cut my eye, and
So that rock smashed the window of the bus?
Window, and glass, just.
Okay, so were you already in your seat and seated, kind of waiting to go? Was that the scenario?
Well, we were already going. We were on the way. And,
they
just started throwing rocks, and we pretty much, I was the unlucky one, which, went straight to the hospital, dropped me off, and I was, couldn't really see. The eye was blurry, and straight into pretty much, I had two operations later, and and all good, thank God now, nothing, no injuries.
No lasting effects.
I can remember telling the doctor, can I play next week? She said, you'll be lucky to play again. So,
okay, because that's my recollection of the time, again, just reading the papers and the press, and obviously soccer got its usual bad publicity at the time, but in this case it was deserved, right? Because we caused it ourselves. But I've also read, comments from other guys that were in the bus at the time, hit the floor, panicked, what the hell's going on? Because that's not a normal existence. We're not in Europe where you're driving through 50,000 people and you know it, you're coming up to a volatile and you're sort of bracing. Whatever. Okay, so total surprise.
It was out of the ordinary one. It's not something that's happened before in the game.
No, that's right.
And I don't think it's happened since.
No, which is good. But you've got shattered glass in your eyes. That's right.
In one eye, yeah. Well, it just went into my eye. I blinked sort of, I think, from what I can remember. Yeah. And it just cut my eyeball. So I had to have stitches put in and they dissolved after a certain time.
Yeah.
And I think
so did you go straight into surgery, emergency surgery?
Yeah, the bus took us straight to the hospital. Went in, had the op, come out. It was still blurry, so then I had to go back in and have another one. And the rest is pretty much history. So I missed, I reckon, 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Wasn't allowed to do anything. So I got back into playing after that. I had to wear the goggle glasses, the Oakley glasses, which is good. They sponsored me back then, which was good. Actually, went to my mum's the other day and she found them. So my son was walking around wearing them, trying to be a little bit of a smart ass. But yeah, they were...
Put them aside because they should end up in a football museum at some point.
Yeah, we might have to do it. So it's just part of the journey, ups and downs. It affected me then, but not now. We move on. So, have no angst or nothing.
Yeah, no, apart from being surprised and shocked, and obviously you don't have time to think about it because you're injured, right?
No. Yeah.
And then obviously you're in hospital, you're getting treated. Once it dawned, or maybe even that conversation with the doctor, you're thinking, because all footballers, any injury we get, the first thing we think about is how soon am I playing? Am I playing next week? Right? That's just that just kicks in, and you're hoping for the right answer, even if you know that there's a stupid answer that you're not going to know what's coming. So he tells you may never play again. At that point, right? Because you're only hoping you're playing next week. You're not playing, right?
Yeah.
When the doctor hits you with the sledgehammer and says you may not play again.
Yeah.
Then what are you thinking?
Then that's when the shock hits in and the disappointment. But then it's just about working back to try and prove it wrong to a degree. I think that the doctor always gives you the worst case scenario. So once it healed back, my mum and dad flew over. 4 or 5 days later, I was back in Adelaide, and it was pretty much. I can't remember. I think I probably missed 2 or 3 weeks of training. So then I started training, no contact, and then I was back playing. Yeah, after that, I remember Frank Farina kicked up a bit of a stink when we played Morwell, because I had to wear glasses and this.
Frank being Frank.
Yeah, he just tried to cause a bit of chaos, but that's football.
Bit of game.
I wore the glasses for the rest of that season, and that was it. And then I was fine. Nothing
lasting
serious. No lasting memory or anything like that. So
Okay, so just because we've discussed all three, right? Just bring them up to the bus. We'll call it the bus incident.
Yeah.
Cozzy and Muskie kissing each other on the Bunnings seat.
Yeah, that was a funny scenario. Looking back, it was pretty funny how it all happened and stuff.
Hilarious.
You could see Vidi was sitting next to Cozzy. He's trying not to laugh. And it was full on. We at the time, we got in there and tried to, but I think that was good for the game back then. That brought brought attention. It wasn't bad. It was a little bit of bad attention, but brought more publicity. And as you know, characters in the game, there's not many left, is there? And people, it brought that rivalry between Adelaide and Melbourne even to the forefront, even more. It's bigger, and it's a big rivalry now, and the crowds are good. And looking back, it's so funny looking at it. And Cozzy just doing the backflip, and it was, and it's part of the game, and I enjoy that side of
a little bit of passion. It doesn't frustrate, and I think along the journey, soccer hasn't quite managed those kind of scenarios. we do get a little bit of bad publicity because of it, but the AFL would have milked that to high heaven and turned it into a PR bonanza.
Yeah.
But soccer seems to turn it into a PR disaster. And it's
I don't know if that's the soccer people that turn it into that or the AFL.
look, the outside media don't help us. I'm just saying there's an opportunity. It's a free hit for soccer.
Yeah.
If you're clever enough, you do milk the rivalry. You turn it into the Adelaide, Melbourne
because
thing.
you see it a lot. And, our supporters aren't angels, but they're not as bad as they're made out to be. Even here in Adelaide, when Adelaide play Melbourne, there's cops galore and,
it's the same here.
And the flair, I haven't got an issue with the flair side of things. I don't, because watching the Europe, but you're not allowed to do it here. I haven't got an issue with it, but it's not allowed. So it's one area we might need to stamp out, but it's still good for the game as well. I don't mind it. So, the outside media do. I think it's not just the outside media, even our own media sometimes, the football media has a bit of a crack when, if you see the AFL media, they hardly ever have a crack at their own. I think maybe because the AFL tells them not to as well, and they're
there's all that.
But we have a crack at ourselves sometimes when we should be given the publicity that we deserve at stages.
But having spoken to quite a few members and had chats and conversations with a lot of our soccer media, a lot of pressure internally from their editors or whoever to produce headlines of the stuff that we don't really care for, so they can get space. Whereas the match report might get that much. Throw a flare and or police are there with that much. So that a lot of the soccer scribes are put under a lot of pressure internally to produce stuff that they probably don't want to, that they otherwise wouldn't get space for.
You see it a lot on TV. Everything's so they blow it out of proportion. Something happens in the AFL, you don't hear about it. And you can see a lot of the racist stuff that happens, and in the AFL, they sort of swept it under the carpet, and that's why it's coming out now. Whereas in the football side, I think because the soccer side was so multicultural, I really hardly ever experienced that racial, racial side of it in the soccer, because we're a mix. Whereas the AFL is certain culture, and as soon as someone else comes in, and it's still sad to see today, especially with a lot of the Aboriginal players and stuff. It's happening. So
for sure.
Maybe they should come and play soccer. It won't happen as much.
Yeah, bring them over.
Yeah,
we'd love that talent.
Yeah. And we've got a lot of the thing we have now. We'd like to have a lot of African kids, and especially here in South Australia, and you just don't hear about it as much, or hardly hear about it as much as happens in the AFL side of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All races and colours welcome in our sport. Don't worry about it. We don't even need multicultural round like the AFL.
No,
Every week's multicultural round, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they have to have rounds and try and broadcast and try and be inclusive. We do that day in, day out.
Day in, day out.
In our game, yeah.
Correct. All right, let's go to word association.
Yeah.
Okay. Romario.
Legend.
All right. You got to play with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that experience.
He was probably past his best when he came here, but he was a great guy. He was tried to didn't speak much English, but was genuine. Liked his beach volleyball, so he was pretty much down the beach most times playing beach volleyball. But good guy.
Okay. Mark Viduka.
Yeah, I was lucky to play with him in the under-20s stages. A legend of Australian game, probably the best, one of the top 3 players ever to come out of this country.
All right, who are the other 2 then?
You'd have to go Kale.
Yeah,
I think.
You're comfortable with those 3?
I think so. Yeah. What do you reckon? Kale probably technically wasn't as good as the other 2, but another player that knew what he was good at.
Oh, absolutely.
Leading goal scorer for Australia. Played the EPL. Pretty successful there as well. So you'd have to say them 3 for me.
Yeah. As Socceroos, those 3 are right up there. I think Mark Viduka is our best player that we've ever produced.
Yeah.
But and I'll never ever change my mind. You know, second, third, fourth, I can see arguments for all of them, and I can change my opinion from 1 month to the next. But with Mark,
those three would be in the conversation every time, wouldn't they? The Duke is probably the standout, and then the other two would be in a conversation every day of the week.
Yeah,
with most football people.
Yeah, I could watch Mark play football every day of the week, all day long.
Yeah,
that's how good I think he is. But I'm biased because I've made my mind up on that.
Yeah.
Who was the best player that you saw play in South Australia?
Probably Ivanovic.
Maybe a whole.
Ivanovic, he was phenomenal. Yeah, I remember one night at training, we were training on a muddy field, and one of the young boys was trying to pressure him. He came, put it through his legs. He came again, through his legs, 4 times, and then he just passed the ball and said, "Just stop, don't try and chase me anymore."
Give it up, kid.
Yeah, give it up. So it wasn't me, but it was another kid. So
you don't want to mention his name, eh?
Nah, he was phenomenal though. He was a great player.
Yeah, okay, cool. You've obviously, with still being in the coaching game, you will still have ambitions to continue that. What do you see in the future, apart from the fact that I've already made you Mickey Valkanis' assistant when he comes back and takes over Melbourne Victory in 5 years? Apart from that, what else is on the agenda?
I'm just pretty content at the moment with Croydon Kings. Like I said to you, we got a good young team. For me, I'm a believer in, we want to win silverware, but for me, I prefer, like, we'll build 10 years' time, seeing him play in the Champions League. That gives me more joy than a trophy in the cabinet. So I enjoy, developing these young boys, seeing them go on, and then really appreciate what we've done for them. Trophies are good too. I wouldn't mind winning a couple of trophies along the way, but I like to see these young boys go on first to the A-League and then overseas. Yeah,
trophies are a good byproduct of the processes you put in place and whatever. But you sound like you're very keen on being a development coach.
Yeah.
And there's a difference, right? Because you have, and I don't mean to denigrate Cozzy, but Cozzy was, like you said, a bit of a manager.
Yeah.
And maybe had a better, more success with a senior type squad, because that's what he worked with, that's his personality as DNA.
Yeah, I think, and also working with the youth team for 5 years, really saw appreciation and really saw the young kids, how driven they are and what they want to do, and that really, really shows that, that's what I want to do. Coaching the local league, don't have to play young kids. A lot of clubs don't play young kids, and you hear certain times coaches, we lost, but we had to play some young kids. Mate, I've always said, if you're good enough, you play regardless of your age. So if you're young, you do the job, you come in and you play. Not an issue with me. So and the players know that and respect that, and I think that's why they're probably doing not too bad at the moment.
And you're doing well because you know that you're developing players, and you can see that because they're moving on to the next level and the next level. So well done to you, and may that continue, because the player development thing is so important. And we all have had the discussions about the AIS and the golden generation. But having spoken to a lot of people, including Ron Smith, for me, the AIS was just a building, but but it was about the people. It was about Ron Smith, because he was the best development coach, because he surrounded himself with Gary Cole and Steve O'Connor and these guys that actually knew how to develop kids. So Croydon Kings and the kids there are going to benefit because they've actually got a very good development coach. It's not a fluke.
We try. We back to the AIS. I think the problem with the AIS, once a lot of those players, like you said, even Viduka, he came straight out of AIS, went straight into National League, but he was at that age where he was 18 and he was good enough to do that. Whereas now, or when the AIS finished, those kids were only 15, 16 coming out of the AIS.
Yeah.
So still a gap there. So they went from elite environment AIS, and then they went to a youth team, whereas they should have kept the age higher in the AIS. They dropped the age to try and accommodate the Joeys. But then, once the Joeys finished, they went back. A lot of those kids that went to AIS didn't go on with it because they were just so young coming out and going into a youth environment when they should have been going straight into an A-League environment. So that age group needed to be 17, 18. And that was probably one of the faults. And then that's probably why we didn't see a lot of kids coming through. And then, like all things, money cuts, and, that was the first thing to go.
Excellent. Look, mate, so much appreciative of your time. I know it's the weekend and I'm eating into your family time and your personal time, so I do appreciate it. Thanks for putting up with the juggling of the dates and etc.
Yeah, sorry about that. But when you're talking football, you're never eating into family time, are you? So it's always good.
We're always talking football, and we enjoy it. Again, thank you so much for being so accommodating. Good luck with the coaching.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll speak to you down the track when you and Nicky get that job. And I only want a small commission, right?
Yeah, we'll have to come on here together.
Yeah. All right.
All good.
Been a pleasure, mate. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, George. Thank you very much.